So we're talking about the sweet spot, right? That's the trying to get the perfect time and place to give an advertising message to your audience when they'll be most receptive or, you know, take take the action that you want them to take, be most likely to take an action. And it's an ideal, but it gives you something to shoot for. And it also allows some creativity here. And this is important that you can not just be creative in the message that you give to your audience, that you not just the creative approach to your advertising, but to actually the media, how you deliver the message, which medium you choose, when and where you choose it. This is also a place to exercise your creativity. So, you'll see some examples that are pretty creative, and I'll share them with you here. So look, here we've got, this Save Paper, Save the Planet by the World Wildlife Fund, right? And shows that the amount of green is getting less and less and less in, I guess that's South America. Uh, but isn't that clever, right? You want to try to get people to reduce their use of towels. Well, that's one way to show them, to illustrate clearly the effect that they have on the planet, right? If you want to try to get someone to, not use a towel, this is a very clever approach to doing it. Or let's say not to use excess towels. That's the behavior that they want to influence. Here, this is an ad that would go on the wall next to, those people movers in the airports. So as you're going along in this people mover, you're seeing this kind of on the wall and you're gliding by it. And it shows like what happens to your luggage, right? You go into heaven on the airplane. It's kind of like you're going into heaven, and then it illustrates what happens to your luggage after you let it go. It goes through hell, right? So it's like then after you join back up after you get your case back, right? But it just kind of depicts basically that your luggage needs to be strong. And so this is like a very clever way of reminding people, right, when they're going through the airport, like, I wonder what's happening to my luggage. I wonder if it's safe. Maybe I should buy, new luggage. Reminds you of, then when you get your luggage back and you see that it's broken, maybe you'll remember that it went through hell, and you'll remember that the Samsonite bag, the luggage should be stronger. Here we see an ad for Activia, right? TLC typically stands for tender loving care, but here it's tummy loving care. You know what Activia does? It's probiotic yogurt. It's supposed to help with you know digestion issues. So where might you see an ad for Activia? If it affects, for example, constipation or something like that, kabuzlik in Turkish. Yep, that's where you might see it. On the back of a stall or in a magazine that might be read during a bathroom break. Some people read magazines. This is maybe before smartphones. But still, right, you think that if I'm joking, I'm not joking. There's actually on the backs of these bathroom stalls, I've seen them in shopping malls that have these ad panels, and this is the type of thing that might be advertised. There you go, right there. See you same time tomorrow. Kellogg's all brand, high fiber cereal. I wouldn't personally want to put my food brand inside a toilet, but there you go. Here's another great one. Look at this. This is an ad to get you to wash your hands. Isn't that great? The notice says 92% of guys say they washed, 34% were lying. Wash your hands. This is especially true in the age of Corona, right? Wash your hands, people. But quite a quite a funny and apropos uh, demonstration of the aperture concept, right? We also have aperture involved in online advertising, especially in online ads, right? Think about what happens after you, uh, for example, you search for something like a smartphone. Suddenly you start seeing smartphone ads. There's a reason for that. It's because your online behavior is being tracked and monitored. You know, you've got cookies being placed, you've got your browsing history being monitored by, you know, when you're on Facebook or when you're on, you know, if you Google something or if you're on Amazon, your search on Amazon is being monitored, and all this stuff is getting, you know, fed into databases, and they're trying to target you, trying to target more effectively the advertising that you should be more receptive to. So Google AdWords is probably one of the perfect aperture concepts, right? Because you're hey, I'm interested in this product, and you Google it, and suddenly there's the AdWord, the advertisement for the Google ad campaign ad comes up. So you know, for example, I Google coffee shop in Nicosia, and there's an ad that comes up. This is actually not a real ad, but it just shows freshly brewed coffee, the ad cafeexamplebusiness.com, right? But this is what happens is that advertisement, the AdWords advertisement comes right up in the, you know, after you search. So you can go through, I would recommend actually, you know, you should kind of learn about how to do this. We're not going to spend too much time on it. Well, we have a segment in, you know, but I think you've taken digital marketing, probably you can, you've gotten exposed to it. But we'll come back to it a little bit. There's also what's known as contextual advertising, and this is again based on your uh, your browsing history. You know, if you search for a certain type of a product, Google in their network, you know, they have a network of websites that they can then use display ads and show you an advertisement for that. So, you know, like this banner just shows up. Say you were, you know, looking for coffee, or you're reading an article about coffee, you know, an advertisement for coffee happens to come up. And that's the context of your click stream. Your click stream is being monitored. You know, what you're doing online is being monitored, and then they show ads to target you. There's also what they call hyper targeting and behavioral targeting, and this gets even a little bit closer. This is following your kind of your lifestyle. It's putting together, you know, with an algorithm what kind of a person you are, what kind of things you're interested based on your click stream, your browsing. You know, it's not just like putting the ad in the context of the thing that you're actually seeing. Like if you know, if you're reading an article on coffee and you see a coffee ad, right? That's one thing. But hyper targeting and behavioral targeting is like just taking all of your behaviors online and kind of cooking them and distilling them into what type of a person you are and what types of ads you might be interested to see. So there's all sorts of behavioral targeting solutions that you can, you know, there's different networks like Google and Yahoo offer Bing. But for example, if you look at the bottom right corner, Life Straw, right? I just happened to be at that time thinking about a new type of product that I was considering about a kind of a water filter, right? A new design of water filter. So I started Googling water filters and, you know, different types of products that were, you know, aligned with that. And then what do you know? On my Yahoo Mail you know, on the web page for Yahoo Mail, suddenly I see Life Straw filters 1,000 liters, blah, blah, blah. Right? That's behavioral targeting or hyper targeting. There's also remarketing. Remarketing is what happens when you're on, for example, you go to Amazon right? And you're on the product page. Let's say like this actually happened to me. I just happened to want to buy a pair of Scarpa Boostic climbing shoes, but I found them a little bit too expensive. So I went to I add the product to the shopping cart, but then at the end I was like, it's maybe the shipping costs were too high, or maybe I just wasn't interested. Well, then for the next couple of weeks, especially if the product is an expensive product, they show it much, much more, uh, hoping that you'll eventually buy it because it's kind of still has a good return on investment, even though they show it maybe 10 times. It's like an expensive thing. But if the product itself is high margin, it's like lots of money to be made on one purchase, like a car or a computer, or in this case, Scarpa Boostix is like 140 or 150 euro shoe when it came out, then they're going to keep at it. They're going to keep, showing you this banner. Then you're going to hope that you return to the website and then you actually end up buying the product. Maybe they'll hit you with this discount ad, an ad like, hey, 20% off. And you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, now I can get it for 20% off. And then you go buy it. And actually, I did end up buying the Scarpas. They're a great shoe. So that's the idea of aperture. There's creative ways about it, there's technological ways to go about it, but you should be your goal in media scheduling to have this aperture concept. Like it also in terms of the timing, right? Like you know, if you're a toy company, you want to put the bulk of your advertising during the new year, before the new year, before Christmas. Or if you're, a flower company, maybe you try to target Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, these types of, you pseudo marketing holidays. We also use the synergistic effect, right, in terms of the timing and the placement, so that we can again capitalize on, we make sure that the timing of the television ad is first. We follow it up with relatively lower cost media that in and of themselves, they may not have a very high impact. But if we can try to capitalize on this synergistic effect by, getting the timing and placement just right, then we can do a better job, get the most for our, marketing communications budget. There are also what are known as preferred positions. In a magazine, the preferred position is like the front cover, the back cover, the front inside cover, I should say, the back inside and back outside cover, the, the middle gatefold. These are preferred positions. If you just get a full page ad in a magazine or in a newspaper, they will give you what's known as run of press, ROP. That's the price. The lowest price you pay is ROP. If you, but the preferred positions, like the back cover, is especially, expensive and it goes quickly. It's sold out very quickly. So you have to reserve these preferred positions and pay for them, months in advance. And it's the same thing with ROS, run of station, versus preferred positions. If you get a television ad, you're trying to get television ads, they're going to give you the cheapest rate is run of station. In your ad, you don't specify when it's going to be shown. You just say, well, just show it. And then it could be at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It may not, it may be in the middle of a string of 5 different advertisements or 10 different in the middle of a 5-minute advertising break. But if you want a preferred position, you have to pay more. Say, well, I want it to appear at this time and I want it to be the first ad shown in the series. Then you pay more, right? The first ad and the last ad are the most expensive because it's like when people are just about to get up or when they come back and get in their seats right before the show starts. There's also something known as road blocking, which is showing the same ad at the same time across multiple channels, multiple programs, so that it's like a roadblock, like in one of those car chase scenes where the police are chasing the criminals and they make a roadblock and it just blocks you. You have to see the ad. So if you're trying to change the station, you're trying to change the channel, you go flipping through the channels, you see the same ad over and over. It kind of forces you to see it. And then there's the issue of lead time, but I'm out of time, so I'll come back and discuss lead time next.